You're listening to Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. On each episode, we sit down with key industry experts to discover more about what's happening in the world of learning and development, from current trends and insights to the most valuable lessons learned along the way. Join us for a fresh perspective on all things training and the best direction forward. Here's your host, Leanne Langford.
Hi, welcome to Learning Leader Spotlight, the podcast where we interview the learning leaders of today to help the learning leaders of tomorrow. I'm your host, Leanne Langford. I'm the president of Training Pros. Training Pros is a learning and development contract staffing company where we like to say, when you have more projects than people, let us find you the consultant to start your project with confidence. I am super excited today to welcome my guest. I've had a couple of really great conversations with her, and she's going to bring a lot of good information. Please join me in welcoming Adrienne Smith, Manager of Global Learning and AI Development at Samsara. Welcome, Adrienne.
Hi, Leanne. Thank you so much for having me. I couldn't be more excited to be on this podcast. I've learned so much from so many of the guests that you've had and really has shaped the trajectory of my career. So I'm in full gratitude and very excited to be here to share a little bit about AI and all the things happening in the world of tech.
That's so fantastic, and I love to hear from a fan. All right. Well, first off, share with our audience just a quick overview of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I lead the global learning team, and we have a strong emphasis on AI development. I actually work at Samsara, which is a very unique company. So Samsara powers the global economy by bringing AI to the world of physical operations. So we use our own hardware, which generates a massive data set of over 20 trillion data points. And we use that data to really drive the connected operations platform that we offer to so many of the transportation and logistics, and even beyond that in the physical operations industry. And we really do improve the safety and the efficiency and the sustainability of all these operations that power our global economy. And my team is directly responsible for onboarding all of our new Samsarians, and we greet them on their first day, and we introduce them to all of our AI tools, as we are a very AI-forward company, and we also own all of the leadership development within the organization.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Samsarian, that's pretty cool.
Yes, we definitely, as many of you all know that are listening, I'm sure all of you are wearing many, many hats as it is with our industry, but it does keep it fun and exciting.
It definitely keeps it from being boring.
That's true.
Yes. Well, can you tell us what it was about learning and development that first attracted you to the field?
Like many of us, I went to school to be a psychologist. I was in sales for the majority of my career, but it really just took one experience in a sales onboarding, and I was like, wow, what is that job? And so I sat front and center, and I couldn't keep my eyes off of Tammy Cooley. If you listen, she was my first inspiration in seeing somebody in this industry, and I left that classroom with just an deep curiosity, but also to desire to get into this field. It was watching light bulbs go off in the classroom and people feeling motivated and excited and ready to hit the sales floor that said, I can do this and I want to do this. And from that moment, I just pushed really hard and I networked really hard and I got my first opportunity and I just haven't looked back.
I feel like it's a good fit, so it was worth all that pushing and trying. So
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to hear everybody's origin stories because everybody gets here a different way. But I love that you intentionally set out to get here after you saw what it was like.
Yes. Yeah. No one tells you in college to be an instructional designer or to lead a sales enablement org. I don't know why that shouldn't be like that.
They don't, and they also don't tell you to try to find a job that is fun for you.
Exactly. Yes. And I
Yeah.
love it so much. So I'm very, very thankful that I found this industry.
So you've been in L&D a while. What are the most impactful changes you've seen?
Yeah, my gosh, so many. And I think the one that really, got the ball rolling in this industry that really inspired me was really shifting out of this order-taking mindset and becoming a true consultant in the space and really earning a seat at the table and aligning to business goals and understanding objectives and what are the OKRs of the organization, and ensuring that the work that we're doing is not just but it's work that truly is intentional and is driving the bottom line for the business. And so that was the first big shift. And then I think, like many of us have answered that have had the opportunity to join you on this podcast, is the second really big shift that we've seen is AI. And I'm really hoping today to take you all deeper and talk about how we're going to shift from this generative AI that we've all become so familiar with in our day-to-day, but how do we shift into this big agentic AI push that is happening currently?
Well, I can't wait to hear about that because I definitely am looking into how we can use agentic AI in our company. So I think it would be really helpful. So let's just go into that. The big question is where are we head in the next 5 years? But you brought up agentic AI. So can you explain to everybody what is the difference between agentic AI and generative AI?
Yes, I would love to. And I'm so passionate about this. And I hope this inspires you all, because we're all new to this. And I think this is the opportunity right now to say, okay, let me learn about it, because we're all starting at this start line. And so this is your time right now to kind of harness those fears of what is this and how is this going to shift my life? But say, you know what, let me learn about it and let me gain confidence in it. So it's no longer a threat, but it's a tool that I can use. So yeah, for the last few years, we treated AI like just a high-speed search engine or a really fancy typewriter. It was very reactive, right? So it's prompt-based. We ask it a question, it gives us an amazing response back. But where this shift is happening is this agentic AI. And this is a very, very big shift. I see this truly impacting the way that we work in our industry. Is with agentic AI, it's really not just about a prompt, but it's about a goal, right? So agentic AI will take a complex series of steps, and it can actually work through those steps, and it can take actions across multiple systems. So, you could have it, pull a list of maybe new hire names and plug them into a comm that you've already drafted, and then have it generated as a draft in your email. So it's taking that generative, what we're all so familiar with, and it's really turning it into essentially like a digital teammate. We have another agent that can help us with some of the maybe mundane tasks to start that we're all kind of griping about doing in our day-to-day.
Yeah, I was just speaking with somebody earlier today, one of my teammates, about, they were talking about, well, maybe we need to look at virtual assistants. I'm like, well, with agentic AI, do we actually need a virtual assistant? No.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Leanne. I think truly what the shift is going to look like for us, and I think something that we should really take advantage of in this opportunity is learning how to build out these agents. And it's much easier than you think. And the reason why I'm saying that is, in the past, when we had to build agents, or the idea of building out something like this, it involved a magnitude of coding, right? And that's just not the case anymore. We have these incredible tools, MCPs exist now, which ultimately mean you don't have to have an API connector to different tools. So MCPs are natural language. They work directly in your ChatGPT. They work directly in your Gemini. And what MCPs do is they'll connect to your Google Drive, or they'll connect to your calculator, or they'll connect to your email. So whatever tasks that you want it to do, it can now easily connect, and you don't have to worry about writing this long sequence of code to be able to get it to connect. So that's what I mean by, like, this shift is really happening, where you don't have to be a coder to build these agents anymore. It kind of has leveled this playing field where the yous and me's of L&D that really don't have this technical background can actually go in and build an agent quite easily that can take on some of these really challenging tasks.
It's still a little intimidating, though. So I would
Very.
assume that there's consultants out there who are saying, hey, let me help you build your agent. I know how to do it quickly. All I have to do is find out what you want.
Yes, yeah. You're gonna probably see that it already exists. So there's definitely, like, almost like almost like recruiting platforms, but they're just for already built agents. And so one of the things you have to really err on the side of caution, especially if you're evaluating agents or adopting pre-built agents for your organization, is really ensuring it's not smoke and mirrors and that these things are truly agentic. They're not just like fancy LLMs that have been packaged as an agent. So that does take just a little bit of research on your end. And truthfully, you can use AI to help you understand AI and have it break it down for you in whatever level you would feel most comfortable receiving it in. That's the beauty of Gen AI, right? Is that it can really take something super complex and make it very easy and digestible to understand. But there's so many amazing resources out there. And I know, Leanne, you usually will ask the book question at the end, but this I feel like is a nice segue here. So Ethan Mollick, he writes, he kind of adopted the working and living with AI kind of thought model, right? He adopted this really early and he wrote an amazing book called Co-Intelligence. And one of the things I will recommend to every listener is he has a newsletter, and every I would say couple weeks, he puts out a newsletter, and it really breaks down what is agentic AI, what is AI, how is it changing, because it is changing so rapidly. And that newsletter really breaks it down in such a way that's so easy to understand. And you, after reading it, you're truly like, okay, I get it. So that is something that I would recommend as you're kind of embarking on this journey of understanding agentic AI and how it's going to shift our workforce.
That's a great book recommendation. I definitely am going to download it onto my phone. I'm traveling tomorrow. It'll be a great thing to listen to on the plane. Yes, absolutely. Is there any advice you give to somebody who's looking into building an agentic AI right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So really starting with any of the high friction, low variability tasks that are on your team's plate. So think about the tasks that everyone's kind of like, "Oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, this is so time consuming. Like, oh, there's got to be an easier way to do this." Those are the tasks. So start to take an inventory of the tasks that are really mundane and challenging for the team, maybe from just a time perspective. And then as you build that out, now you kind of have this trajectory of where you want to go, right? And so we want to build an agent to replace these. And what's also nice about those high friction, low variability tasks is that the rules around them don't really change, right? We know exactly what it needs to look like. We know exactly how it needs to be done. So we know how to run that agent in a way that there's not going to be any variability in the response, right? So that's kind of the first thing I'd recommend. And then the next thing is start just getting familiar with the tools. So if you already have ChatGPT or if you have Gemini, they all have agent building aspects of those tools. And so just start playing around with shifting away from just prompting to more goal setting. So really thinking about more complex asks. So maybe not just, hey, can you write a course outline for me? But maybe saying, hey, can you research these top 3 competitors for their product updates, compare them to like what we're offering in our sales decks, and then draft a 5-minute update for our sales teams on Friday, right? So you're taking that more, taking it from a prompt to a more goal, right? Of asking this to do something more complex and to go outward and do research. The next thing I'd also say is when we think about the shift to agentic AI, it's going to move quickly. And one of the keys to being successful with building out agents or implementing agents is they need to have access to the tech stack, right? So I think sales enablement is probably the easiest approach to kind of explaining this, but like sales enablement, let's say they use the CRM, right? They will use maybe Gong to do their call recordings. They'll use Slack to communicate. So these are all tools where agentic AI can essentially connect to these and then in the flow of work, begin to make coaching recommendations or to help them maybe they analyzed a call they were on, the agent did, and they'll come back to the rep and say, hey, you really struggled with that objection. Let's take a 2-minute role play now and just practice that objection, right? It's in the flow of work. And so that is where the agents are going to really start shifting. And something for us as L&D professionals to be mindful of is with making sure that we have that tech stack and understanding what an agent would potentially need access to. I think in the future, departments may start launching their own agents to solve immediate problems or skill gaps. And so we have to rethink kind of what does L&D's role look like now, right? Because we, before, are content curators. We decide as humans what people need to know, right? We do that through performance needs analysis and really thinking through organizational shifts and goals. But now that we have these maybe business unit deployed agents, now what is L&D? So then we come back and we need to think about, okay, well, then we need to become more of a learning architect or an agent architect, right? Where we are ensuring that the agents are aligning to our best practices, right? Are we using proper learning objectives? Are we ensuring that there's measurement strategies in play? Like all this amazing stuff that makes us these great L&D professionals does not fall by the wayside. That's what's going to make us incredible at training these agents to ensure that they're actually hitting the mark and they're aligning to what the company's vision and goals are. So I kind of tangented off that third step of learning the tech stack, but I wanted to explain why it's important to know your tech stack and why potentially we'll need to analyze it for future agent development. And then lastly, I would say AI ethics and governance. In 2026, I don't think the best L&D person is going to be the L&D person with the most agents. I think it's going to be the L&D professional that has the tightest ethics and governance or before developing agents, right? So we deal with a lot of proprietary data. We deal with a lot of information that we would have to really be mindful and careful about. So ensuring that the agents aren't stepping beyond bounds, right? They aren't offering varying information, right? If you have dual agents working on a similar task, right? Is one giving this advice and the other is giving completely opposite? So our job is to ensure that there are really strong ethics and governance around this work. And that's going to come from you all asking the hard questions. So as your companies are like, use AI, adopt AI, right? Like one of the things I will tell you is be an architect of intent, right? So go in and say to your teams, listen, like I'm very excited about this. I'm optimistic about where AI is going, but I am going to ask the hard questions about implementation. I am going to ensure that our data and our people's data is protected before we start just going out there and deploying agents and giving them access to that tech stack that we just talked about.
As a leader, what are you doing to make sure your team is up to date on the rapid changes in AI?
Gosh, such a great question. So I have really started with just the basics. So having them subscribe to the Ethan's newsletter, going through and reading that weekly and digesting it and discussing it. I've also given them autonomy to dabble in tools and really just waste time. And I know it sounds kind of crazy. It's like, oh, we're going to waste all this time learning AI, but sometimes truly you'd have to slow down to speed up. And I think that's something to expect with any AI adoption, especially in up-leveling yourself or your team, is it is going to slow things down temporarily, but I promise you the best way to learn AI is to actually get in there and play with it and try to build something. So I'm really challenging them with that. But I've built out a 6-week program for my team using generative AI to help me build that out. And through that program, we're on week 2 right now, and the focus this week is understanding our company's policies around ethics and governance, so that we're not stepping outside of any boundaries when working with these tools. But at the end of that 6 weeks, my team is going to build an agent. That's the goal of the project. So it's little by little. We come back to the team every week in a team meeting and we discuss what we've learned. We've discussed our frustrations. There's going to be frustrations. I promise you, sometimes you get so close to getting something to work and then it just doesn't, and you're like, I don't understand why. Just keep trying, push through those frustrations, just like with anything you're learning, and use your AI tools to help you. Say, this is where I'm at. I'm stuck here. What do I do next? That's the beauty of AI, is you can use AI to help you build agents in AI.
That is the beauty of AI. I have definitely done that type of thing. It's like, okay, how should I build this? What tools should I use? And it just,
Yes.
I mean, it like starts laying out the code words, the code you need to write everything.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. How does somebody completely new to agentic AI begin to use it in their day-to-day?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of going back to what we just mentioned, right? So that I think it's really start with, I'll give you an example for my team. So we built an agent that does all of the onboarding emails and comms. And believe it or not, that task was taking my team around 2 hours a week. That's 2 hours, right, of my team, super smart, incredible L&D professionals that could be tackling so much more strategic work. So it pained me every week to see them do this work. So we went, I went out to into the world of agentic AI, and I said, this is my mission. And what I did is I actually made fake data. So I replicated the docs that we would potentially be using, and I just filled it with fake data, right? Fake names, fake roles, fake emails. And I just started plugging the docs in, and I have a comms template. And so I made a copy of that and started merging the documents through Agentic AI and saying, all through natural language, saying, this is an email we send every Tuesday. This is who needs to be included, right? Just giving it really strong parameters to operate within, and was actually able to get the agent to draft the email. It put it in my email as a draft, so all I would have to do is review it and make sure everything looked right before I hit send. And so that in itself was very exciting for me. So right now I'm just waiting on clearance from the company that it's okay to use our actual data. But to just have something sitting there just waiting to be deployed is very, very exciting. So that would be our first agent that we've launched on the team. So I would say taking all the steps I gave you prior and just not being afraid to just jump in, mess up, try again, mess up, try again, and repeat that 800 times before you finally land something that does work.
I just want to make sure that we've covered everything you want to talk about around AI and L&D on this one, because it's you bring so much knowledge, especially with your role of AI implementation. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, one of the things that I think I think in maybe it's an analogy that keeps coming to my brain. And Leanne, we mentioned this, and you brought up something, so I wanted to bring this back to the conversation. But is AI or like agentic that's kind of taking on all of these maybe foundational tasks, right? Is this going to shift us away from, is it like skill decay, right? Or is it skill augmentation, right? And so the analogy that comes to my brain is when I was in 8th grade, I was in a math class, and my teacher said to me, I said, can I just use my calculator for this? And she was like, Adrienne, do you really think you're going to have a calculator in your pocket at every single moment? And in my head at the time, this was way before iPhones, I was like, exactly. I was like, I guess not. You're right. Right. Like in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to carry a big TI-83 in my jean pocket, And so, but it's like now we have these iPhones that can do all of this. Right. And so that's the analogy that comes to my brain is we see these technological advances throughout our entire life. And I think the biggest difference with AI is like that curve is just sharp. Like it's moving up quickly, right? And so when it comes to augmentation or skill decay, I think it's for us at least, or I think my take on this is that you still have to have the foundational knowledge to do AI well, right? We still have to be really solid L&D professionals that understand the amazing methodologies and all the incredible frameworks that shape our industry to do AI well, right? So I challenge like all of you, it's not an atrophy of these amazing skills we have. It's how do I use all these amazing skills I have to make these agents so amazing and help my day be easier so I can focus more of my brain power and cognitive load on the things that really, really matter, that excite me, that could really shape my company and where we're going.
So I do agree with you, and I do agree that you do have to know what you're doing, know what you're looking for, know what the outcome is, because many a time I check those stuff coming out of generative AI,
Mm-hmm.
and a
Yes,
lot of times it's wrong. And if
correct.
I didn't know what I was doing, I wouldn't see that.
Right.
This isn't tracking with what I know. And the other part I've noticed is I kind of call my Gen AI chat GPT guy, he's a sycophant. No matter what I say, he's like, you're brilliant. Oh, that's
Yeah.
smart. And I'm like, can you just be a little critical?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that critical thought that comes from us, right? That empathy, right? Like we're gonna like lean into empathy. We're gonna lean into human learning, right? There's so much opportunity for us as learning and development professionals, and it's just these small pivots and these. It's like this over emphasis, oh my gosh, emphasis and lean in to human connection. Right. And when you bring people together for a training, maybe a live training, it's dedicating time and saying this is a tech-free zone just for this maybe 30 minutes, right? We can use AI the entire time, but for this 30 minutes, it's going to be tech-free and we're going to really just jam as humans. And so that's where there's going to be a lot of push as our kind of training shift with the influence of AI, I think.
So let's shift gears for a minute.
Sure.
I have a quest to get people to realize how important mentorship is. Who has
Yeah.
been your most influential professional mentor?
Hands down, I could answer this at any point in time. The one person, and there's been many people that have shaped my career, but there's one person that has really shifted so much of my life, and her name is Dr. Jamie Krause. She was actually on your show, so please, if anyone's listening right now, you have to go back and listen to Jamie's episode. It was so incredible and in true Jamie fashion, shares with so much heart and passion, but Jamie really came in and I think almost speaking to what we were just discussing about kind of slowing down to speed up. Jamie really took this global learning organization that she came into. We worked together at Indeed.com, the job search engine. And she took all of us, and it was a very large org of over 200 L&D professionals. And she really just took us and slowed us down and said, let's get back to basics. And she did this like instructional design. She called it ID Primer. And she really just said, okay, let's learn foundational skills. We're going to learn about learning objectives. We're going to learn about, measurement. We're going to learn about Kirkpatrick and the amazing Jack and Patty Phillips with ROI Institute. And, all of these amazing Bloom's taxonomy was introduced, right? Like there's so many things that she taught us and that just sped us up. It like propelled us into this like poof, like this atmosphere of L&D. And one thing that I took from her leadership style that I bring to my teams is she's a highly empathetic leader. She cares so much about her team and their success. She's truly invested in every single person's career, and she'll personally take your hand and help you through things, but with such a growth mindset outlook to where, I will come to her true out of my mouth. I said to her, I'm not good at tech stuff. And she goes, yet. You're not good at tech stuff yet. And now I'm running an AI development team, which is crazy. At Indeed, she put me on a team supporting data analysts and engineers. And I said, are you sure? And she said, yes, I'm sure. She goes, yet. And so she really pushed that growth mindset on me. And that truly is what unlocked the doors. I said, oh, if I had this framing when I was younger, who knows what I would have accomplished back then, but I am grateful I got it now. And I am for me, it's everything is yet. I use it with my daughter. She's in gymnastics. She goes, I can't do a cartwheel. I said, yet. Can't do a cartwheel yet. Right. So that was, she's just influenced so much of my life and I absolutely love her. So you could learn a lot from her. She's a wonderful human to have in your network. So please listen to her podcast and follow her work. She's amazing.
I agree with you that she's amazing, and I just loved hearing a story of exactly how amazing she is. I thoroughly enjoyed the podcast episode we did with her. It's been a while. It's been over a year at least.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, thank you for that story about her.
Sure.
Okay, so I think you've already answered the question about the one book everyone wanting to move into L&D leadership should read.
Mm-hmm.
Let's remind them again. What is the name of that book?
Yeah, it's Ethan Malik, and it's called Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI. And that is a great place to start in just understanding the world of AI. And then the biggest next step that you can take from that is to subscribe to his newsletter and just dedicate time to reading it and learning about AI every week. And I promise the more you just expose yourself to it, the more you're going to understand it and the more it's like almost like this curiosity bug will take over once you really start to dabble and understand AI beyond the confines of just Gen AI. That curiosity bug bites pretty hard. So that's my only warning is just that it's so endless what you can do.
I love it, and I'm guaranteeing you, I'm downloading that Audible before my flight so that I can listen to it. I think it'll be a good one. Maybe I'll even pull down the Kindle version too, so I can look at the chapter names and all that.
And highlight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, Adrienne, it has been wonderful to have you on the show. I really appreciate you being here. You shared a
Sure.
lot of really interesting information that, we might just start sending to people as a primer on AI
Yeah.
to our other clients that are trying to break into it. Um, as you've listened to many of our podcasts, you already know that the way I'm going to thank you is we're going to plant 5 trees in your name.
Thank
Right now,
you.
we're planting trees to restore the wetlands all over
Oh,
the world. So it'll be like mangrove trees and trees that have the exposed roots and um, help with the wetland situation.
how
And
amazing.
that's just our way of saying thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our journey here.
Yeah. I mean, that correlates so beautifully to all the work that we all do in this space. We plant so many seeds and hope they root into these beautiful trees that we're helping people, grow and build. And I just hope everyone listening knows like how impactful your work is and how appreciative our learners are of the time that we dedicate to their success. So keep going, keep being amazing, keep challenging, keep learning, and stay curious.
Great advice. Sounds like Ted Lasso to me, my favorite show. But be curious, not judgmental.
Yes.
So that's it for this week's episode of Learning Leader Spotlight. Thank you for joining us, and we
Yeah.
hope you join us again next week to hear from another learning leader in another industry.
Thanks for joining us for the latest episode of Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. You'll find links in the show notes to any resources mentioned on today's show. If you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review.